Okay, so now we're gonna move on to unit 5.5, break even, but you should kind of like do this during your finance unit in school. So contribution is something we need to understand before we actually get into break evens, okay? Contribution is the sum of money that remains after you minus all of your direct and variable costs from your sales revenue. So when we have contribution, we have our contribution per unit or unit contribution, and then total contribution. So when we look at contribution, the unit contribution is this equation. It's the selling price minus the variable cost. It's how much profit you earn per each product, okay, without regard to the fixed cost. So if I have a product that I sell for $100 a bag of milk, okay, but then it costs me $30 to produce that and make that bag of milk, then my unit contribution will be $70. That means for each product, a bag of milk I sell, I make $70. So total contribution is just the idea of how much total profit do you have without looking at fixed costs. So that's where you do your unit contribution times your quantity. Because if I make $70 per a bag of milk I sell, if I sell 100 bags of milk, then my total contribution will be $7,000 because it's just 70 times 100. So let's move on to actually break even. Break even is just the point at your sales when your firm does not make a profit, but it does not make a loss either. It's at that exact middle point. So the formula, the unit of contribution method to find break even is this formula, and it's what you will be using in every break even you do for IB business. It's fixed cost over your unit contribution. So let's go back to that example. If mine was 130, okay, and I had $70 unit contribution, then maybe my fixed cost is around $7,000 divided by 70. My break-even point will be 100 units. So once I sell 100 units, that is when I make just enough money, okay, that I'm breaking even. So that will be this point right here. Now, when you draw, when you draw a break-even chart, okay, this is what it will look like. Let me just label it: costs and revenues. So when you draw any break-even chart, you have three lines. You'll have your fixed cost line. There's just a straight line because it's your fixed cost and they don't change. Then you have your variable cost line, which is above your total cost, which is above your fixed cost. And this, you call it total cost because you start at the point of your fixed cost, okay? Then you have your total revenues line, okay? Basically, your variable costs are costs that will increase the more you produce. So as units are increasing, the more units produced, your variable cost will increase, which you add on top of your fixed cost to make your total cost. And your revenue, as more units are sold, more revenue is earned. So that point where your total cost and your total revenue intersect, that is your break even. So the number here, so that would have been 100 products over 100 bags of milk, okay? Remember, you always have to label and then three lines and label these 1, 2, 3 and label your break even point. Point it out. So now when we look at this break-even chart, we also have this thing called a margin of safety. Margin of safety is in the name. It's how safe you are from making a loss. So it is, in an equation standpoint, it is the level of sales minus the break-even point. So let's go back. Let's say I sold 100 products, okay? And this was my limit here. I sold 100, okay? Then my level of sales, you would go to my revenue. So let's just say that's here, okay? Then from here, it is just this much, okay? It is that value. That is my margin of safety. That is the profit I have earned, okay? And that is how safe I am from going into a loss, because now my revenue is over my cost. Whereas if it was here, I would have no margin of safety or my margin of safety would be negative because I'm making a loss. So that is just the first part of break even. Okay, so now the last part of calculations we have to do with break evens is something we call target profit quantity, okay? So target profit quantity can be expressed like this. It's the fixed cost plus your target profit divided by your selling price per unit minus your variable cost per unit. Now, if you were listening, this would look very familiar, okay? If you just get rid of target profit, then this is just your break-even point equation. So the essence of it is, if you think about it, this is something that people really struggle with, but I think it's actually quite simple, because the idea of break-even is that your fixed cost is how much cost you it's the minimum you have to earn divided by how much you earn per unit, okay? So if I need to earn because if my fixed costs are $5,000, I need to earn a minimum of $5,000, okay, so cover my fixed costs. And if my thing is 5, okay, then my break even is 1,000, all right? So I need 1,000 units. Now, if I add that target profit, but I want a profit of $1,000, so then I add $1,000, then it's just 6. Or if I want, make it easier, if I want to have a profit of $5,000, then I'm going to need to add it on, okay? So then I get to 10,000. And it's essentially just the same equation. You just have to think of it as you're just adding more cost to your fixed cost to reach your target profit. So then that will give me 2,000 units. So I need to sell 2,000 units to reach my target profit of 5,000. That is what a target profit quantity is. Now, sometimes they may ask you about target profit, but all you have to do is just, is just rearrange the equation, okay? Now you have to use some math, okay? But you just rearrange the equation to make your target profit the subject. So it would be like your target profit quantity times your contribution, okay, minus your fixed costs. That would be your target profit. That's how you'd find target profit. So when you look at this equation, what do you actually need to find this? First of all, you need to find out what you need is how much profit they're looking for. That is your target profit. You need to know how much they produce, okay? Because you need to understand you need to find out their variable costs. And you also need to understand how high the selling price should be. The reason that it is not fixed like contribution, okay, is because a lot of times when they ask you questions on target profit quantity, they will always split it up and they won't tell you the contribution, okay, or they might just not give you the price and give you everything else. So they'll give you the target profit quantity, fixed cost, target profit, variable cost, and they'll say, how much do I have to sell my products if I want to get a target profit quantity of 100 products with a target profit of $1,000? It will tell you how much should I sell my products at. So now, let's get straight into the break even, okay? What are the limitations of this? I think the biggest one, and the one you should always be answering, is that the break-evens are assumptions. It assumes it's very predictive, okay? It assumes all your costs are linear. It assumes your sales revenue is linear. In that, remember, like that straight line, it says my costs are linear and then also my sales are linear. This is not really useful for a dynamic business environment. Maybe for businesses that change their price a lot, because then your thing would look like, whoa, will go all over the place. It's not really suitable for those types of businesses. And also, once again, for any kind of model and description and descriptive statistics, garbage in, garbage out. If I put in bad data into my predictions, if I have bad research into like my forecast, then the break even is going to be useless anyways. And fourthly, it ignores other quantitative and qualitative factors. And then it's also not suitable for single product firms, because it would be hard to associate your fixed costs. Okay, if I produce 10 products in a factory, okay, then if I do a break even of each different product, okay, in that product, the fixed cost of that 5,000 is going to each product. But that's not really realistic though. So it's kind of not so suitable for these single product firms. I mean, for these multi-product firms. So yeah, that is all a break even.